lovers, and welcome back to the Woodshed. We have another international episode this week with my dude, Mike Dawes. And yes, I got a haircut. You'll see that in the comments. Mike's hair is still nice and flowing. Mike Dawes, everyone. Crowd goes crazy.
Wow, what an amazing intro. Please do all my intros ever. And next time I get a haircut, I'll send you some in the mail. Mr. Andy Wood, it's so cool to finally meet you in almost real life.
It's weird, right? Because we were joking around before we started recording the episode about, well, better not talk too much because all the good stuff will happen on camera. The internet has been really kind in a lot of ways. For as evil as it can be, it's been kind in a lot of ways for our guitar community to allow us to all kind of know each other and get hip to each other's music and know each other almost like a personal level, you know, almost with social media and stuff before you actually meet somebody. Man, so with the internet and the advent of, I discovered you a couple of years ago, probably longer than that. I remember keeping up with your stuff when you were just starting to pop onto the scene. Next thing I know, you're putting out some killer music. I'm a big fan. And then you're touring with Tommy Emmanuel. It's like, dude, we have same mutual friends, so talk to me about it.
Yeah, we have a ton of the same mutual friends. It's crazy how we haven't met before, because you play with Daniel Kimbrough sometimes, right?
Yeah, Daniel Kimbrough and I have known each other. We both were at University of Tennessee studying the jazz together, and then I dropped
studying the jazz. Yeah.
I dropped out because that's what you do, and I think Kimbrough got his degree, but I'm not sure. But Kimbrough and I toured a long time. He was on a gig where we were, back in the day when I was just kind of getting on the scene, we opened for Guthrie together once, and we opened for Landau together once. So yeah, Kimbrough and I go way back in the day.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I met him. He was touring with, in fact, this is a crazy connection and a very old school connection as well. So he was playing bass. He put out a record playing double bass with my old friend Martin Harley, who's an amazing guitar player, slide guy, blues guy. And my first ever gig I ever did, not just on acoustic, but just like as a kid in some community center in like the south of England, was opening for the Martin Harley band back in like, don't know, man, 2005 or something, back when Martin had a ponytail. And then years later, I ended up, I was invited out to open for them as a sort of special guest at their London show when they were on that tour. So we ended up doing a show together, and after all those years later, and Martin and I, we play together every year over in Germany. We both play guitars made by this guy, Andreas Kuntz, in Germany, and every year he has a festival in his hometown, and we all meet over there and get sort of hammered in Andreas's workshop and play with power tools.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
That sounds like Tennessee, man.
yeah, it's but with a lot like bigger beer.
Yeah.
With wheat beer. Yeah.
Man, I have that Martin Harley record, and I remember when Daniel got those gigs, and I remember the artwork. It was the bicycle for one of the records.
Oh, it's so sick. Yeah.
I remember all that stuff. So Martin, I'm a fan, obviously. I've never met Martin, but, you know, it's crazy that outside of internet connections that we have like real life connections. So, man, there's so many things that I want to fire off at you. It's like, I'm just going to start with the vanilla ones in case none of my Woodshedsmen are familiar with you. You're a fabulous, fabulous acoustic player, and obviously touring with Tommy, you do like you're in that lane, right? But man,
I disagree because I have massive imposter syndrome, and I'm like some weird guy from the UK. But for some reason, people invite me to their hangs, and then I end up making friends with people, and they invite me on tour. That's kind of that kids is how the music industry works.
There you have it. Okay, thanks for being on the episode, Mike. I love having you.
Pleasure.
So, here's the thing that maybe people may not know if they have seen your social medias or seen YouTube or seen you, opening for somebody. You're a vicious electric player, and your start was on electric, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Okay, so no, I'm not a vicious electric player. You're a vicious electric player. You're breathtaking, in the words of Keanu Reeves at that computer games event. But no, so yeah, I started on electric guitar as like a teenager because my family was sort of moving around to different parts of the country when I was young. So at the sort of 12-year-old age, I was already playing music through, my mum had an old keyboard and my dad had a trumpet. So I was kind of dabbling in that stuff and finding the thrill in working out songs that I had in my head, like Another Day in Paradise by Phil Collins, on all the white keys, ding, 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 da, da, ding, ding. It's like a 6-year-old kid. You get the music bug. That's it. Game over, right? But the guitar thing only happened because I wanted to kind of fit in a new school, basically, and the cool kid had a guitar. So I sort of begged my folks to kind of get me like a Squire Telly or whatever it was at the time, and ended up joining a band with the cool kid. And then, of course, it wasn't a love affair instantly. Many guitar players will say this, because on guitar, it takes some work to get the first sounds. You know what I mean? It's not like piano where you can press a button and the sound happens. It's a two-hand callous situation. But once that happened and I could play, Smoke on the Water and Californication and stuff like that, that was it. But it wasn't until later that I went to the dark side and picked up the old Granddaddy guitar, the acoustic, when I was about 17, simply because you could do more with it. I just honestly felt that self-expression was far easier on an acoustic hollow-bodied instrument. Fingerstyle obviously opens up the layers of harmony that you can achieve. Then there's the modern style with the percussion. That's extra. But I mean, mainly it's, instead of playing single lines and single riffs, I was able to self-accompany. And that, again, is a symptom of a small town upbringing where, that there weren't a lot of musicians. The musicians were all my friends. But, once you want to leave the town and step it up, I just became a control freak, and the acoustic guitar facilitated that control freakishness by enabling me to be able to write and perform on a single instrument as an individual entity, right? That was a long-winded way of saying, yes, I started on electric guitar.
I love the long-winded answers. I think 99.9% of my viewers love the long-winded answers. There's always that one guy that's like, thumbs down, long answer. But it's
There's always
funny.
that one guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that one guy. It's funny because as you're describing this, I see the kind of inverted mirror of myself.
Oh,
Because,
right. Okay.
yeah, mandolin's my main
Yeah,
instrument.
you've got to have some like bluegrass roots, 100%.
I didn't start playing electric guitar till I was 18.
Oh,
So
okay, wow.
yeah, so I was like you're describing the
Yeah.
life, and when you switched over, it's almost the exact same for me. Going
Maybe if we
in the
like
opposite
run
way.
into each other really fast on a full moon, the universe will explode.
Yeah, under a full moon specifically
Yeah,
facing
yeah,
east.
specific. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, platform 9 3/4 or whatever it is.
I love that. I love that. So talk to me real quick outside of the that's how the music business works. Outside of that clever answer. Man, when you started gigging, this is always a fun question that never gets asked in interviews, or at least I'm rarely asked it. When you started gigging, what was the transition like from the occasional, brewery pizza place, for instance, or whatever, to like real stage, like real production, to theaters and larger? Like, how quickly was that transition for you?
Slow as hell, man. I mean, still doing it because it's not like, the world is a big place, and I can go to some. Now, if I go to, here's an example, Bermuda, and play a guitar festival, it's not like the biggest production in the world, but it's Bermuda, worth doing. So yeah, so when I was starting out, I was hitting all the bars, all the what we have folk clubs here in the UK.
Will you tell me
So
what that is? We have to interject because I don't know what that means.
okay, a folk club. So folk music, obviously, is sort of traditional music of the land. In the UK, we have a tradition of Celtic music,
Sure.
and music from even the north of France as well, and Ireland. And where I was living in the southwest, I was living in a town called Bath, or Bath, as you say in Tennessee, or in the north of England. And I was living there, and because it's very near Wales, it's like a stone's throw from Wales, there's lots of that kind of Celtic tradition there. And I was finding that playing weird instrumental acoustic guitar that wasn't necessarily folk music in sound, a lot of folk music comes on the acoustic guitar. It's that kind of aesthetic, right? So I was finding that the gigs that I was able to get were at these folk clubs, which were, say, in the back room of a pub on a Thursday night. They would have singer-songwriters come in and sing and sell little homemade CDs, or not playing for tips, because we don't really do the tipping thing like you do in the States, but sell your wares and maybe take $50 and see you next week kind of thing. So I was doing that kind of circuit. Then what happened from that circuit, which I was doing with an ex-girlfriend, we kind of had a duo act. If you crushed it at one of those, then the promoter happens to be putting on his 1 gig a month of a touring act coming through town at the slightly bigger venue, then you'd get offered the support slot for that. That's how I met Martin Harley, for example, was that kind of arrangement. I would be the local guy opening. And then that circuit built, driving around in a van for years whilst studying, right? So whilst I was at school, this would be like the kind of weekend warrior kind of thing. But then when I went full time, what happened was to cut a long story short, because it is a long tail, I put out my first sort of real production video, and it kind of went viral online. And what that means is I was getting a lot of requests to come and play shows in various countries all around the world, because suddenly, instead of being word of mouth promo and promoters saying, hey, I like what you do, come and open for this act I'm putting on, I was kind of getting that, but on a global scale.
Sure.
Right? Sure. And then I was going to do that. I was like, yeah, you want to come to Lebanon and play for like $400? I'm like, sure, fuck yeah, let's go to Lebanon, and all those kind of things. And what happened is I was teaching guitar. This was just after I graduated. I was teaching guitar at this like school, say like 4 nights a week or whatever it was. And it got to the point where I couldn't just say yes to gigs at weekends and in the evenings, because they were in Indonesia. You know what I mean? Like, I remember there was a point the summer after that first single went out where I was offered shows in Malaysia, Indonesia, and then I went down to Melbourne in Australia. There's no way I could do that and then come back for work on Monday. Yeah. So I just handed in my notice and was like, I have to do this. I have to kind of take advantage of this opportunity. And then I basically went on tour and didn't stop until COVID.
Love it.
I was on tour 11 months of the year. Something that I taught myself to do was kind of manage myself and figure out visas and bookings and all of that whilst all those offers were coming in, just because I didn't know any better. I was like, that's right. You need this bit of paperwork to come to Greece, or else you can't do the show, and then there's a tax thing to deal with. I was like, okay, well, let me read the fucking government webpage of how to deal with it, and I'll learn. Yeah. And that's what I did. Later on, I got the gig sessioning full-time for Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues. So I've been touring as Justin Hayward's guitar player, playing like Nights in White Satin and stuff. Couple of tours a year we do. And then also I'm now being managed by Brian Penix, who manages Tommy Emmanuel, Andy McKee. So I'm getting on a few tours like that. In fact, the tours I did with Tommy initially were kind of, I think that's how he discovered me. I don't know. I think I got in it for a different route. But anyway, I'm his one sort of international signing, which means we're learning about more visa bullshit, But honestly, 11 months of the year, just traveling around the world, playing guitar, making a few records in that time. But this COVID thing has just turned everything on its head, because if your whole income and your whole life is built around shows, then all that stops. You get hit. And it's not like the government really gives a shit about the whole self-employed musician thing. We're kind of operating on a different kind of sort of scheme. We don't get like a salary check and you slip through the cracks. Man. I mean, how are you that was a long
No. I want one quick answer. What was the first video that went viral? Because the first time I saw you go viral was Metallica.
Yeah, that was another viral song. So
I remember knowing you before that went viral. And I was like, oh crap, yeah, that's doing the thing, and he does all the parts. It's so cool, yeah.
Yeah, the whole Metallica One thing. I love how we're just like sipping on some tins as we talk, but we're sipping alternately as the Zoom highlight is gone. It's like the camera's on me, and Andy's like, "Yeah." I'm joking. It's like, no, I'm joking. No, sorry.
Tie me off, bro.
Yeah, no. The first one was somebody that I used to know.
Oh, yeah.
So I did this. I'm a little out of shot here, and I'm capoed, but and I've got my little tone wood amp on as well. If you can hear the reverb, if you guys can hear through Zoom, I don't know. Amazing device, by the way.
I
But
have one.
Dude, they're insane. It's like, I'm sure we'll get onto that, but I must answer your question. It was somebody that I used to know, and I did it at a time where I put a lot of heart into it. Just had a breakup. You know, there was a lot of energy went into it, and the internet responded very kindly to it. So that happened, and then that's when all the emails came in about shows saying, "Hey, where's the album?" But that was literally my first song, so I didn't have an album.
That's great.
Yeah, it took a while to work on it since then, but yeah, it's a song that's been very good for me. I just released a live version of it actually for the new record. But yeah,
And I have been listening to the various Mike isms on Spotify. It's so good because I gauge it with the various females in my life, girlfriend, moms, whatever. You know, it's like, and they're like, oh, this is nice. I like this. You know,
yeah, it hasn't got that death metal vocal.
Mine tend not to have any vocals. I'm listening at home, and if it's acoustic music, it's things like Punch Brothers and stuff that's like a little more cerebral or whatever. And they're always like, "Oh, can we not hear the barrage for a little bit?"
Yeah, it's nice. That's a really nice compliment, man. Because you know, you're like the king. So
I
I
am not the
appreciate the
king.
compliment, man. Appreciate the compliment, and yeah, it's weird that just one acoustic guitar can actually squeeze out so many interesting sounds. It's a testament to whoever came up with this device that we love. There's a lot you can do with it, and yeah, I owe a lot to this instrument, 100%.
I love that. I love that love affair that you have with the acoustic instrument because I feel the same way about the mandolin. When I sit at home, I rarely sit in front of this wall of doom with all of this electric plugged in stuff.
It looks cool, man. You look like you're doing a shoot for like Guitar World in the '80s or something.
Yeah, right. I rarely. The reason it's all laid out like this is because obviously my control desk is here, and I use an aux or IRs or load boxes or reactive loader, whatever, and I just run a speaker cable. I have all the heads, so it's like it looks good, but it like I can manage it, you know, in a workflow environment for sessions or whatever. But when I sit at home, I'm usually upstairs in the house and with a mandolin. And I love mandolin for the same reasons it seems that you have the love affair with the acoustic guitar. It's like there's a natural expression that can't really be replicated with electric instruments on an acoustic instrument. And there's like this, yeah, and there's like you said, the self accompaniment thing. It becomes very challenging when you start taking away more harmonic options. And a mandolin is like a violin; it's only got four, you know, it's fifths. It's only four tones, G, D, A, E. So yeah, man, like a lot of you guys, as in the guys that do the self accompaniment thing, were very inspiring to me when the Bohemian Rhapsody movie came out, and I did a version of Bohemian Rhapsody on mandolin, solo mandolin, and try to do all the parts.
An undertaking.
It was awful, but it was also really fun. And I was like, man, if I see, you know, Ben Lacey playing Rosanna and doing all the parts at the same time, or if I see Mike playing Metallica, or Tommy doing, what's the one that he does? Tommy does like Lady Madonna and something else at the.
He does a whole Beatles like.
But he does two of them at the same time.
Yeah. I think it's Day Tripper and something.
It's Day Tripper and Lady Madonna, right? Because he's doing the. He's doing like the. And he's doing the other one on top of that. It's really great. But all you guys
at the same time. Yeah, on those tours we did one of the last tours I did before COVID was out with Tommy, and it was, in fact, I think it was the last tour I did last year. It was in Germany and Austria, and you know, just watching him on stage every night, like he is the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like he just is. It's like I can't. I'm usually quite rambly, but I can't formulate the words to express how you, viewer or listener of this, should just appreciate Tommy so much. And what he does for the guitar scene and the community. I mean, some extraordinary displays of generosity. You know, I mean, he's just a wonderful man and a one of a kind player.
We don't have enough of those in this industry and on this planet, really. Like when I think about Tommy, I too agree 10,000% with everything you said.
Mm.
He sits at this like Arthurian round table, and obviously like 2 weeks ago we did the Woodshed camp, and all those guys are my favorite players. Timmons has that Tommy thing where it's like he can take the music that's inside of him and just hand it to somebody who doesn't play music. And that's like this extremely crazy 1% of the 1% of the 1% type of gift where it's like I watch guys like Tommy. Another one that really does it for me is to watch Sam Bush play like a big festival. There'll be like 10,000 people there to see some major country, Alison Krauss or something. I don't just, one of those.
Yeah.
And like Sam has this way of like everybody who doesn't play music loves it. And like Tommy's got that same gift where it's like if you don't play guitar, it literally doesn't matter because he's got this love of music that's contagious. When he does a cover, it's amazing. And when he, talks to the audience, he's exuberant. He's got this energy. It's just like, it's magic.
It's completely honest. That's why, and this is something. So when we start out playing guitar, and when whoever's watching, I'm sure they can remember when they start playing. There's this purity and this. It's all about expression. You are trying to express who you are through music, and not to be too cynical. I'm British, so we're born with an innate cynicism. But it seems like nowadays the image is so important to the younger generation, and I kind of include myself in that. I'm 31, so like the social media thing kind of happened when I was, I guess, developed somewhat. But I feel like the idea of projecting an image is so important to people now, when what they really should be focusing on is honest self-expression. And the reason that people like Tommy and Andy Timmons and people like that are so infectious is because they've cultivated that ability to communicate how they feel, and however they're feeling at the time is what they will bring to you. If they're feeling love, you will feel love, and there's no bullshit. There's no faking that, and you can't fake that. And that's why we're just gushing, talking about how these people are just next level. Like on the Tommy tour, one of the ones we did was in Delaware. We played in Delaware, and we were in the lobby of the hotel about to do a Facebook Live, and in walks this gentleman with like a broken leg who'd just been in court next door. And he was losing his case because he got hit by like a drunk driver or something, and he was losing his small claims case or something. And it's this elderly gentleman, and he was really bummed out, and his wife was with him, and they were really bummed out. And Tommy just goes, "Hey, what's up?" Sits down, opens his guitar case, and just plays to them for like 2 hours.
Unbelievable.
This is the lobby of a DoubleTree. You know what I mean? Like, and he didn't have to do that. We actually had stuff to do. It's not like he even had the free time, but he made the free time because that's what he was feeling, and that's what's important, that giving, and really just full respect to that guy and everything he brings to the community.
That rules, man. That leads us down. I love doing these unscripted because it always takes the conversation to a different turn. So allow me to turn the conversation, if you will. I never answered your original question. I even forgot what it was to me, but it had to do something that's not as cool as what I want to ask you now. So with that, no BS, no way to faking it, self-expression, love of the music, love of sharing music. Like, what is your view on the current ecosystem of internet guitar with so many people? And I hate to be this way. I'm from Tennessee, and we're rarely cynical, but what so many young guitarists, specifically young guitarists, are losing their way, and they're getting caught up with faking the 45-second video. They're getting caught up with what kind of filter needs to be used on the camera. That they're losing the way of self-expression. Like, what is your opinion? If you'll just rant and rave or ramble, just
Yeah.
take that topic and run with it.
So, well, there's a lot to unpack there because it's really easy to generalize, first of all. So just because someone is like, um, you know, faking something, I wouldn't say that necessarily goes against their own self-expression if that's wholeheartedly what they're doing. They might just be existing in a world where the willingness to share openly and honestly about emotion and capturing a moment is just lower down the priority list as the gratification of likes and traffic, which is where we are now. We exist in a musical world where it's so saturated and so competitive that people are kind of doing whatever they can to make themselves seem better than the competition. Now, my philosophy is like, fuck the idea of competition. Like, I play acoustic guitar because I love playing it, and I'm very lucky that I get to do it for a living. But at its core is just, I'm just having fun. This is why my Instagram is mostly pictures of me just like hanging out with my mates. I'm not posting. I'm not one of those guys, because even though I'm aware that if I was one of those guys, I would grow at a greater rate. It's just not who I am as a person. And that's the thing. And there's no judgment towards people that are like that. Now, on a personal level, I can only, I guess, answer this from a personal perspective, but faking a clip if you're showing that it's not, like faking a clip, like miming to a clip if you're doing a music video like MTV style is one thing.
That's right.
But a bedroom setup that's been tweaked is something entirely different, in my opinion. But I'm only expressing that opinion as someone who holds a different value set to someone who is younger, growing up in that environment. I don't think that we as players in our, 30s and up can really criticize people for being a product of their environment in the same way that when auto-tune in vocals came out. Like, I remember last year when I was doing one of these Tommy shows, I was talking to my buddy Jack Gardner online, who you've had on here before, right?
Yeah, Jack's one of my oldest friends. I've known that kid
Jack,
since he was like
Jack,
16. And
Jack is a freak.
here's a great example. Jack's video for his new album, which is brilliant. He's standing in the woods in the Swiss mountains, and obviously there's not an amplifier in sight. But there's no doubt in my mind the guy could sit right here and play his butt off. I
Yeah,
think
but because that's not what he's that's not what he's selling. So for
right.
example, like I weighed into this whole fake guitar argument that happened at the end of the last year because I was talking to Jack on Facebook Messenger whilst I was sat side stage watching Tommy. And Jack was saying, oh man, I had another student today, and the student came to me saying, why can't I sound like this? And they showed him a clip of a guy, and the guy was clearly, it was neat. But these guys can play. Like, let's not pretend like, because it makes us feel comfortable as older guys, let's not pretend that the younger guys aren't shit hot guitar players. They
That's
are.
right. That's right.
But that's something which gets lost in the conversation. Is it's very easy to come across as old man yells at cloud when you don't give credit where credit's due, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
Jack was saying that this kid was just like so bummed out because he wanted to play exactly like this, and Jack had to explain to him that, well, there's things that happen after the fact that neaten the sound. And I was there then looking at Tommy, and I look up and I see him playing classical gas or whatever to an auditorium full of Germans, and these people just losing their shit. And that's when I can refer back to the previous part of our conversation where I can just say, dude, it's about intent. Some people are going to want to neaten things up to the point where they come across as some kind of superhuman, and some people are just singing from their heart through their fingers, and that's what they do, and that's fine. If the intent is to grow online, fucking fake everything. Fucking, like, get a nose job and get tits. Like, dude, just forget faking guitar, come on, let's be real. Like, if that's your intent, then be honest about it, that's the world we live in. And I think just separate, and this is all stream of consciousness, by the way, hence the ramble. But I think what we need to do as guitar players of all ages in the community is just be comfortable with ourselves and what we're putting out and our own intent, you know. And if we're fine with that, then don't waste our time bothering turning our noses up at other people. And that is, I'm saying that as someone who does see these clips, and fucking it can ruin my day sometimes, because I'll have just stayed up the night before trying to film some little clip and taken takes and takes and takes to get it where I want it, and then I'll see, oh well, I could have just fixed it in post, you know.
Yeah, that was so well worded. I love the fact that that was just off the cuff, because I too was talking to Jack during those times, and I love the way you said, what's your intent, and be honest about your intent. Maybe that's, let's just put a little asterisk in the episode for everyone watching this. Whatever you're going to do, just do it and be honest with yourself. I think a lot gets lost, and I think more negative energy gets swirled around when you're lying about what you're doing. If you're putting it across as in, this is what I sound like when I plug directly into that amp and it comes out those speakers. When you're lying about that, you're not lying to everyone else so much as you're lying to yourself. And again, it goes back to like, what's your intent to do? Like, I love that. And I love what you said. It's like, hey man, buy Lamborghinis and Rolexes, and if your intent's to be famous on the internet and Kardashian yourself, just aim it at that and own it.
But that's, yeah, but and that goes both ways to,
That
like,
does.
you know, if you can say to someone at, say, NAMM, when everyone's hanging out, like, hey dude, I love your playing, but why do you like, why do you bother just making it so inhuman? And if they come back and say, it's just like what I want to do, then you can't really argue with that. You know what I mean? You can't really say, oh, you just, fair enough. Like, if your goal is to just do shows and connect with people, that's another thing, man. Is like, when you're on tour, you can't hide. You know what I mean? Like, when you're on stage, you can't hide. And in big loud bands that like fake and tweak stuff, you can actually hide to an extent. You know,
You
like,
can't hide from guys like Levi and Jack, though.
yeah, no, okay,
Because Levi will put you on and transcribe your solo on a podcast.
yeah,
You know?
but maybe it's my ears, but when I'm in a club and I'm seeing like a loud band,
Yeah,
like, I can't tell in real time.
in real time.
I'm not thinking in real time, oh, he moved and there's no fret squeak. You know what I mean? Like, he could be playing to tracks, and it's very hard to actually know. And I come from the metal world as well, so I'm talking like loud shows, and I've seen bands play where I have been unable to tell that they're playing to tracks, but then I have seen bands play who fake it online but do play live, but then I notice that. But no one else gives a shit. You know,
No one gives, yeah.
but like, you can tell. But again, like, if you're writing like hip hop, like super tight music on like guitar, it's supposed to sound like that. It's supposed to sound processed. That's the other thing, is another variable in this conversation which isn't discussed enough is, you know, as a solo guitar player and a guitar player who does a bunch of stuff and acoustic stuff and mandolin and everything that comes from the Tennessee tradition, such as yourself, we can't look at people who are writing auto-tuned pop music through the same lens. That's just not fair.
It's
Because
not.
that's not what we do. Like, it's like auto-tuning vocals again. That is literally a stylistic choice. That's an instrumentation choice in those genres. For us, it's not. So we can just look at it and say, that's dumb. And I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid. But that doesn't make me right. That just makes me coming from my angle. I'm seeing it through my lens, right?
Yeah.
So I think let's conclude that bit with, you know, do whatever you want to your music, but just be honest about it. And let's not try and bum out kids who are trying to be you by lying to them and telling them that you can sound like this.
Wow, man, that last sentence is super powerful. Yeah, that last one, you know, when you think about the future generations, and you also think about guys that are spending money to buy your packages or your lessons or whatever, it's like,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, so I guess so these guys, they sell courses and stuff based on that. So I guess that's a bit shady. I guess that's like a EA doing like loot boxes on their video games and stuff. I don't know.
fellow gamer, I love what you just said.
Dude,
What are you playing right now? What are you playing right now?
Dude, so I haven't so I just got delivery yesterday of a actual arcade machine. Yeah, dude. Like once this ends, I'll give you a call back on the mobile and show it to you upstairs. 45,000 games, like every game ever, up to like even the Wii. So up to like 2010.
Yeah.
Like, dude. So me and my girlfriend have been playing Super Mario World, and we're going through it like with the joysticks, multiplayer, everything. I've got all the Street Fighters, the Mortal Kombats, the X-Men. I was playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Oh yeah, the one for Sega Genesis back in the day, or the
Yeah,
arcade
exactly.
one?
It's all on there, man. And the whole thing lights up and boop, boop. It's got HDMI outs. So I'm thinking of actually setting up a Twitch page and maybe streaming retro games at some point during this
Nice.
lockdown. That could be fun. What about you? What are you playing?
So I'm actually looking at doing a gaming channel too,
Oh,
because I play a lot, and I'm getting ready to have to upgrade my main computer that I'm actually
oh,
on
you're
right
you're a
now.
PC guy, gamer guy.
I'm not. I'm a Mac guy, but I'm getting ready to upgrade my recording rig. I've kind of pulled as much life out of this thing as I could. So I'm going to take this rig, however, and just take it to the game room, which is 2 rooms through that wall, 2 rooms that way.
When am I coming over?
Dude, I mean, when Rona lets up, you're coming. So as far as gaming, I play. Most of my friends and clan members are all on Xbox, so that's the
Okay.
ecosystem I live in.
Yeah.
But I've always been a guy that buys all of them. Like I've got Switch, I've got, it's like
You have I've been doing a lot of Mario Kart on the Switch.
love it, play it.
Dude, let's swap friend codes. Will you be
Love
my
that.
friend code?
Yeah,
I've been playing a lot with so a lot of my friends are in a band called Periphery, like
yeah.
a metal band. Yeah.
It's
So
funny you say that. Like I'm good friends with Misha.
oh sweet. So
Yeah.
Spencer the singer, we actually have like this like pop synthwavy fusion side project band. I was talking to him today. He is a freak at Mario Kart on the Switch.
Really?
Like, he cannot be actually beaten. Like it got to the point where his whole band just stopped playing because he was unbeatable. And he was telling me today, like, I think he has like 90-4 against me on Mario Kart online. So if you let's figure out a game, but he's a freak at it. Also, I've been playing a lot of GTA on the PS4, getting into that, and Battle Star Wars Battlefront 2. I play with an old buddy. We're really into the whole EA Dice Battlefield kind of franchise. So
Yeah.
we like shooters with tactics where
I
you
play.
have
I
your
played all those. I played all the EA
yeah.
Dice games.
Bad Company 2 was our jam back in the day. Bad Company 2. That
Mine was
was
OG Battlefield 3. Like,
oh wow, okay,
yeah,
nice.
I love that one. I kind of got way down the rabbit hole of Destiny, and so we have a
Oh,
clan.
right.
We have a
So
clan that's
as
pretty
did
much
Misha.
all
Okay.
Destiny. We have a pretty much all Destiny clan. However, I am a mega comic book fan, so I did buy the new. Was it Square Enix that did the Avengers? Or Crystal Dynamics? So they did the new Avengers game,
Wait,
and
hold on. The Avengers game's out.
it's out. Yeah,
Holy moly!
yeah.
I didn't realize if I should swear, so I said holy moly poop.
Yeah, that's fine. You
That
can
was
say
weird.
that. You can use whatever lingo you like, man. No rules.
I didn't
But I've
realize
been
that was
playing
out.
it.
I was really looking forward to it. Is it good?
So here's the deal. You look past a couple of the graphic bugs. Like there was like moments in the final mission where like Thor wasn't wearing a cape. You know what I mean? But just like buggy stuff. But it's not as slick as say Gears of
Spider-Man.
War but his fun level on that game is maxed out. Like it
Dude,
is.
after this, I'm getting it. I'm 100% getting it
I
tonight.
finished the campaign last night, and then post campaign, it turns into a bit like a looter shooter, Borderlands, Destiny type of thing. So,
Okay.
so how much influence do you pull from other media into your music? Because video games influence my music heavily. On every album, there is one track that is named after something that inspired me in a video game. Like every album
Amazing.
has a video game song.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're inspired by everything around you. Whatever you spend your time doing will inspire you, and a lot of that inspiration can actually come in something as materialistic as the song title. After a tune's written, I actually have a tune for what will be my next studio album after this live album, which I'm putting out. Depending on when this goes out, it might already be out. October the 30th, there's a live album called Shows and Distancing. Shows and Distancing live in USA. Recorded it last year. Anyway, the next album, I have a track called Push, which we filmed a video for already in an art gallery that was hosting a exhibition of giant Marvel prints, all signed by Stan Lee. So the music video has like these giant Spider-Man and Wolverine canvases and things like that. So obviously that's an example of my love for the MCU and just, you know, comic books and things in general permeating a music video. But yeah, usually it's experiences that inspire the pieces in terms of the composition. My first album, What Just Happened, was basically I was kind of writing it in education, and it was almost a coming of age thing. And then my second album, which is called Era, was written all about all the experiences that came from all of these tours happening from that Somebody That I Used to Know viral video. So there's a song called Fortress, which is inspired by living in Northern Ireland. There was a song called Beirut, because my first ever gig offer internationally was in Beirut. There's, you know, things like this. They're not just place names, but, you know, there's a song called Purr and Sway, which I wrote on a tour bus rolling out of Mobile, Alabama, and just purr and sway being, you know, what it's like on a bunk, right? So it's usually experiences, and then you write it in that moment, and then what you create is tied to that experience. It's very hard to just not associate it with that. So I put out a single earlier this year, which was the first song I didn't write about anything. So I gave it a name which wasn't about anything. So I called it William Shatner's Pants.
Well, that's definitely about something.
It's about something, but like suddenly I was looking at just like, I have free artistic license to call this whatever I want now, because it was just a bunch of riffs that I thought were really sick, you know. So
Yeah.
that's on the live album as well. And actually the take, oh my God, the take on the live record of William Shatner's Pants, it was the first time I ever played the song. I was terrified because I knew it was being recorded for the live album.
Oh yeah.
And it was in New York, but I went into this improv kind of skit with the audience, getting the audience to all clap along, did a drum solo. Like, it was pure moment captured. That's another thing that I miss so much, man, in quarantine is, you know, these live moments. That's why I made the record as well. And on the subject of talking about things I'm doing and plugging, which isn't very British, I must say, because my manager told me to, November the 1st, I'm doing a live stream show. So that'll be the only show of the year, live stream from here. I'm doing a special set for it, and it'll be very intimate, and that's all on the website. But that's plugging over, because that's weird.
We will do the housekeeping before, because sadly we are approaching the witching hour, and I try to I would have these things 6 hours long if I could.
Oh man, I try to
keep
them. We haven't even talked about, you know, daddy issues and things like that.
I know, dude. I know. So before we start wrapping up, man, would you grab your acoustic one more time? And I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you, while you're getting it, think about this. If you are an electric guitar player, and let's say you are the Weekend Warrior, you're playing Leonard Skinner, or you're sitting at home and you're playing along to the Dream Theater, the new John Petrucci album or whatever, and you've never done any self-accompany acoustic stuff, could you give me just a short entry-level type of like, hey, get this going with this?
Yeah, man. Okay,
and also, you have to kick your camera down just a little bit, or scoot back.
I've got a stool that raises up. So
what? You're living in the future. You are living in the future.
Like white Texas Jesus himself. I will raise up, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of knee.
I love it.
Exactly. A bit of sexy bold knee, because I'm wearing shorts and it's a hot sunny day here in the UK in September. So I'm capoed right now. I was just doing a little clip for a magazine in this tuning and key. So to answer your question in a way that I think will be effective for people is to look at more like a technique that you can associate with things that you already know. And that way you can expand what you do on the acoustic guitar. So take a chord, any chord, E minor 11, F sharp minor 11 vibes, okay? Any chord on your acoustic guitar. So I'm tuned to dadgab, but it doesn't matter. In fact, let's forget the chord. We're muted, you can do anything like this. If you're used to playing with a guitar pick, okay, get rid of the guitar pick. And we're gonna use our fingers. I have nails, that's why it looks a bit gross and weird, but it helps me pick all the individual strings. To start the self-accompaniment journey, I always recommend people imagine a grid, like an x-axis and a y-axis. And on one axis, you have all the different notes you can get with the right hand, so with the picking hand, right? So the thumb picking the bottom string. You could have 3 fingers picking the top 3 strings. You could have a downstroke, an upstroke, various ways of attacking the guitar to make noise on the strings, like musical note noise, out of the right hand. Now, on the other axis of the grid, I have all these different ways of creating unusual textures using the acoustic guitar. So things like a kick drum, or things like a click, things like a sound hole snare, things like a big fat whack, things like a cowbell, whatever.
What is the sound hole snare that you just did? What did you hit?
I was just running my fingernail into the bottom of the sound hole like that. It hurts if you're not a big tough guy like me.
Super tough.
But what I would do is I would combine all these different elements together and try and create these sort of micro techniques, which then, once they're practiced in the same way that, you know how to hammer on when you practice a hammer on, you know how to pull off, you would practice these in the same way as if you were starting the guitar. And then you can apply them to things you already know and basically start working in the fingerstyle genre. So, for example, if I wanted to combine, say, I'm looking at my grid now, a kick drum with, say, the bottom string, I would look at the guitar and I would say, okay, well, let me put my thumb on the bottom string. There's the note. So let me practice.
I see.
Being able to get a kick drum at the same time. And the technique I'm using there, I hope it's coming across with the Zoom compression, is I'm trying to sort of rev a motorbike, right? So the arm's out, the thumb's rested already on the string, but the wrist is kicking back as if you were revving a bike throttle, right? That's how I imagine it. Now, the trick is not to do this, not to twang the string. And that comes from practice and time. But I once spent like a whole day doing this. And then all of a sudden, you realize that you're able to get a kick drum with any note, say in the lower register. Same with these strings. Same with a downstroke. Same with an upstroke. So I'm working on getting a kick drum with everything. Same thing with the snare. How do we get a snare, like a click, with a note? Well, we can slap it, okay? How do we get that with the A string? You can slap it as well. A lot of people don't realize this. You can generate a note on the A string just by getting the thumb angle just right. So what I'm doing is slapping into the 6th string, but just the tip of the thumb here is just kissing the A string. So now I can add that to my grid. Same thing with the D string. Right, you can vibrate it just with the thumb, right? Same with a strum. I mean, that's as old as time, that technique. I'm just flailing the 2nd finger whilst my thumb is hitting a string. We can also say, slap the guitar just like that, get the things ringing. All this stuff comes together. You can just improvise with these techniques, and suddenly you've got a drummer, and suddenly you don't need to split the gig fee, right? And that's how I got the gig with Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues, because I could play Nights in White Satin, but he didn't need to hire a percussion player as well, or a bass player. And you can evolve, and then you get into the crazy stuff, the harmonics, all this stuff, the kind of stuff I do on my Patreon page, which you should check out. And my lockdown lessons, I teach 3 lessons every Sunday night on Zoom, available at MikeDawes.com, if you're interested. We go through all that kind of stuff in detail, but the idea is to think of anything that you could do in any song, say, arpeggiate a 4-note chord and add these elements to it. And then you just improvise, and it's really a lot of right hand work. But a really good, the way I kind of learned those little micro techniques is through doing cover songs. Because when you do a cover song, you can't cheat on the notes, and you can't cheat on what the drummer's doing and what the guitar player is doing. So on somebody that I used to know, for example, you have this bass line that's going, and you have the chords, So you have to get that, and you have to get the drum part. Whoop, and the harmonics with the capo. You have to be able to kind of get everything in, because that's how the song was written. You know, same thing as the Metallica thing, you know? So doing the covers is a really cool way to learn the techniques in a musical way, and then you start writing with them, and then you just expand the possibility of the acoustic guitar, both as a solo instrument and as an accompanying instrument. And then you take the money from the drummers. Sorry, drummers.
I love it, dude. My brain is just like, so I love the fact that it's just something you've created that isn't.
Well, I didn't. You know.
No. Something you.
I didn't create. You know.
Yeah, no, I know. You don't have to be humble. Something that you've pulled together and you've mic'd it. You've made your version of it. I love that it's something that you can improvise with. It's not something that is only dictated by some composition. That only applies to the learning aspect. But when you started just freestyling and playing, it's like truly an open-ended improvisational tool. You know, I love that. Like, that's killer.
Yeah, it can be, because a lot of it's in the right hand, and this is something that I got from, you know, my good friend Petteri Sariola, great guitar player from Finland. I believe he should be one of the biggest players in the world. But you know, when you see players play and they're just so criminally underrated by the whole world, not because they don't have a profile, but because you think that their profile should be Tommy, you know?
Yeah.
So there's people out there doing stuff like this, but what I was doing there was so much of it was in the right hand, that's what makes it improvisational. Like, you don't need any music theory or any knowledge of the tuning you're playing in or whatever to do those little micro techniques in the right hand. You know what I mean? Like, you just practice the right hand, and then you can just play Wonderwall, but instead of strumming like this, instead you're just adding the cool little beats and stuff, and that's it. Like, you can start there, and then you can start making complex arrangements with multiple layers, and that's when the finger picking happens, you know, when you really want to accentuate different parts. There I was just strumming a chord, but once you get into the crazy shit, that's when it gets fun. God, I love guitar.
I love it, dude. That's so good. So, one last question before we do the housekeeping. What is your most used tuning? Most used.
I managed to spill beer on my face then. I have a drinking problem.
I love it.
My most used tuning would either be DADGAD tuning, DADGAD, or this might have overtaken it recently. It's an open C sharp minor 9 chord. So it's C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, E, B, E. So in the middle, you have a semitone. So like a half step, as you say, right? So, but if you're playing, I'm writing songs in this tuning which are in the key of C sharp minor or G sharp minor. I have 2 of them on my era record and 3 of them written so far for 4 of them written so far for the next studio album. And I love it because you have that half tone clash in the middle. You get to incorporate that into some really nice runs, and it creates some really nice textures. And also it has a lot more character than DADGAD, where you're essentially playing a suspended chord, a D sus4 chord. This has a lot more character to it built in. So it's inspired me to write tunes that are a lot more kind of innately vibey, like really, and also writing with the Tonewood amp, which, by the way, if you go on my Instagram page or website, there's a little coupon for 10% off Tonewood amp. 10%.
Love it.
10% is more than 9%, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
It's pretty wild. But yeah, so that one, C sharp minor 9, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, E, B, E. Love it. Really cool. And actually on my record, I tune a tone down from that. So same intervals, but starting on B.
Yeah. Killer.
That's what this is. That's what this baritone beast behind me is tuned.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. That's a lovely stuff. Man, I can't thank you enough. Why don't you give us the official @, hashtags, all the stuff you like. Go slow enough to where I can put it at the bottom of the screen. Is it MikeDawes.com? Is that correct?
Nailed it in one.
What else you got?
Well, so Mike Dawes, and Dawes is DAWES.com. We just just launched a new website, so it's all very shiny and new. So feel free to have an explore. And on there's access to the new album pre-order. So the album comes out on October the 30th, but all the pre-order bundles are at a discount. And also every week you get a new WAV file from the record. And there's, you know, access to the live stream concert on November the 1st there. Everything's kind of there on the website. But for social media stuff, there's Instagram, Mike Dawes, but there's an underscore before it. So it's at Mike_Dawes. Facebook, Mike Dawes Official. YouTube, Mike Dawes Official. And yeah, I mentioned earlier, if any of you guys are on Patreon, I'm on Patreon. In fact, I just got a message from one of my Patreons. There we go. And I do a lot of kind of early access stuff and behind the scenes stuff, little guitar lessons there. But honestly, dude, just like you guys just subscribe to Andy's YouTube channel and you know, buy his stuff. Because this guy is like a beacon of love and joyousness in the guitar community, and he's a monster, freak of a monster. And one day we'll meet and he'll realize I'm just making up some bullshit, and he knows a lot about the guitar, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll tell you this:
this man, he is a Bible.
When the overselling, don't oversell. I'll have to undersell and overdeliver. That's the move.
Buy Andy Wood's stuff.
Okay, now you have to do all my intros. Now that's how it's going to be. I'll tell you what, when we get to hang in person, I want to bring the mandolin and just have a little acoustic jam. I think that would be the best of time.
Yeah, and I'd love to get you to play on something. I'm thinking of after this live album to do some collaborations, like maybe an EP of collaborations, and it would be really cool to, well, not just guitar players, but guitar players that play other things as well. So it would be cool to have like Andy Wood on mandolin. You know what I mean? So I'm talking to Jack about being part of that as well. So that could be, and Gus G as well. You know, Ozzy's, well, Firewind, but Ozzy's old guitar player. Yeah, there's a lot of potential creative goodness, man. I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life. And if you are of the dislike video persuasion and you know my obnoxious British humor has gone over your head, I apologize, but you know, don't ever listen to me again and ignore me and block me. And that's fine. It's fine. I understand we're all different and we're all in this together. We're all in this COVID thing together, and some of us are dealing with it very differently. But I hope to see you soon, and maybe we can meet in real life, and I'll try not to offend you with my words.
I love it, dude. So good, man. I appreciate you for being on, and I'm gonna say this: hang tight when we end this video because I want to see the video game.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for watching, everybody. Thanks for sticking with it. And yeah, enjoyed more of his episodes over in the little sidebar over here that he's done.